Did you say $26 million on loser?
Yeah, exactly.
Jeez. There's $53 million on loser down there in the bayou. Now, Governor Jeff Landry obviously went very viral and became a mega subject of conversation due to a press conference where he chit-chatted about the future of the LSU head coaching vacancy.
The first question is absolutely correct. We are not going down a failed path. And I wanted to tell you something. This is a pattern.
Okay.
The guy that's here now that wrote that contract cost Texas A&M $70-something million. Right now, we got a $53 million liability. We are not doing that again. And you know what? I believe that we're going to find a great coach. I mean, maybe we'll let President Trump pick it. He loves winners. You know? I'm not going to be picking the next coach. But I can promise you, we're going to pick a coach, and we're going to make sure that that coach is successful. And we're going to make sure that he's compensated properly. And we're going to put metrics on it. Because I'm tired of rewarding failure in this country and then leaving the taxpayers on the foot, to foot the bill. So, yeah, I absolutely. Who's that? No. I can tell you right now, Scott Woodward is not selecting the next coach. Hell, I'll let Donald Trump select it before I let him do it. I don't know, but the Board of Supervisors is going to come up with a committee, and they're going to go find us a coach. Because, wait. I want to hold on. One real quick thing on that. Because here's what y'all reporters need to do. Y'all need to start looking at who represents all these people, like these agents. You know what's interesting? If I'm not mistaken, Woodward's agent, Kelly's agent, the Texas A&M, they're all the same agent. Like, you realize if I would be, I don't know how many sports writers we got here today? Just you. We should have a bunch, okay? Like, this is ridiculous. Lawyers would be disbarred for the way these agents act and the way they're able to represent. In fact, there's no doubt, they may even represent some of the players now. Like, it's really time for the NCAA to put on some guardrails in college sports. Because, and it's fine, we don't need the guardrails. If big billionaires want to spend all that kind of money, no problem. But if I got to go find $53 million from Kemp, it's not going to be a pleasant conversation. I'm just telling you, I know. And I think that that's important as well. Y'all should start looking into that.
Ladies and gentlemen, said Governor Jeff Landry.
Yeah, Governor!
How are you, Governor Landry? You really stirred the pot here today, Governor. You really stirred the pot.
It's ridiculous. It really is, Pat. Thank you for having me this morning. You know, the sad part is there's two groups of people that seem to not be, we're not talking about in this equation. One, it's the players. It's the great players that we brought to LSU and the great players that are LSU Tigers right now and that have to operate under all of this chaos. And I tell you, I feel for them. I really, really do. We want to make sure that those boys get back on the field. We want them playing football for the love of the game. And then the second group is the fans. Because the thing that really started this off was Saturday night after the Texas A&M loss. I'm laying in bed and I'm like, this is a mess. Telling my wife, because the worst time for the Louisiana Governors when the LSU football team is losing, okay? It's a bad day for me or whoever the governor is. And she says, do you know the Board of Supervisors raised the ticket prices on Friday? I was like, what? Yeah, for next year's. I'm like, no, we're not doing that. Because what fills Tiger stadiums are not billionaires. What fills Tiger stadiums are nurses, plant workers, welders, fitters, truck drivers. Those are the people that go to Tiger Stadium to be entertained, to watch a great game of football. And we should not be piling all of these millions upon tens of millions of dollars of contracts on the backs of them.
Okay, so Governor, thank you for saying that, and I think your fans will be appreciative of that. College football fans will be appreciative of that, and thank you for your time. Let's kind of get into this a little bit more with everything you just said, and then you said at your press conference. So the governor runs the state schools. Is that accurate? So ultimately, you are boss at LSU. Is that a fair assessment? Because I don't know. This is a legitimate question whenever I say this.
Yeah, so we've got a number of four-year universities in the state of Louisiana, and each LSU has their own board. It's called the Board of Supervisors. It's appointed by the governor under staggered terms. So really, I'm the one that appoints them. They then appoint the president and the AD, and the decisions that are made at the university are really made by the board, but there are appointees that represent me. That's Pretty much the same way I think it happens around the state, around the country. I know that's how it happens in Texas as well. The governor's in charge of appointing the board of regents of, say, A&M and UT.
Okay, so you have the board of supervisors there at LSU. You said in your press conference that they will either find a committee to find the coach or they will select a coach. In that entire process, are you in there at all? Because I think people were saying, because you said in there, I'm not picking a coach. You said, I'm not picking a coach, but other people will pick the coach.
I'm not.
Now, do you feel, though, that immediately upon you speaking about it, everybody thinks to themselves, Governor Landry wants to pick a coach? That is kind of what people get worried about. That is not what you were saying at all, right?
No. Listen, emphatically, I am not picking the coach. That is not my job. The only reason I'm really involved, Pat, is because this contract that currently is between the state of Louisiana, the Louisiana State University system, and Brian Kelly leaves the taxpayers of the state on the bill. There's misinformation out there. People are saying, oh, no, the taxpayers aren't liable. They're not reading the contract. On Sunday, I had a meeting with the lawyers as they were talking about whether or not Brian Kelly was terminated, whether they were going to fire him. And all I cared about were the taxpayers of our state. And that contract binds the state of Louisiana. If we have to pay $53 million and somebody else doesn't step up to foot that bill, the state of Louisiana has to foot that bill. That is in the contract.
Okay, so on that note, as you know now, I assume you were told this, Texas A&M's coach, Jimbo, has an agent, and Brian Kelly has an agent. Now, I think Brian Kelly's agent potentially also works with Scott Woodward. Let's talk about that, the athletic director, because you would assume at most places, the athletic director would be the one that's picking the coach. You emphatically saying absolutely not. Is it because the contract and what you learned about what he had done in the past, or is it strictly because we can't have a situation look like this again with the $53 million? Because I think a lot of people have said Scott's the athletic director for a reason. You're going to have people that aren't in athletics now making an athletics decision. Do you view it that way? And why do you think that is kind of how it's going to go?
Look, let's unpackage that. Let's talk about number one, there's a number of bad contracts that seem to have followed Scott Woodward. Okay. Number two, his agent and Brian Kelly's agent are the same agent. That's something else that's misinformation out there. I believe that Armstrong represents them both. I don't even know if Armstrong represents some of our players. In the legal profession, that is called a conflict of interest. How can I trust my athletic director, whose agent also represents some of the candidates that are out there? You would think that if the Board of Supervisors gave Woodward a list of 5 coaches that are looking to come to LSU, and 3 or 2 or 1 of those coaches is the same agent that he has, who do you think is going to make that list? That is a problem in college sports. Look, in the NFL, those agents are capped at 3%. I think in the MLB, they are. In the NCAA, there's no cap. And these are kids that we're dealing with. These are young people. Pat, it's time for the NCAA to start putting some guardrails around all this money. They are ruining one of the best sports in America.
Okay.
No, I mean, college football is the quintessential of football in America. And there's no guardrails.
I love that you are the Louisiana governor and you love college football. Feels like that should be a prerequisite. Feels like that probably should be in a lot of those states down there in the SEC because, you know, it is different down there with how you're raised and every place is a cult. I mean, that is literally how it is down there because there's no professional sports. What you were saying about the guardrails for all this money, you know, that is something that I think everybody that is involved with college football says, yes, we need that. We need that. But they all say, DC needs to do something. You guys are saying the NCAA, but everybody that's in the sport says we need DC to put some federal ruling into this thing if we actually wanted to make it work. Will this be something that maybe Governor Jeff Landry maybe takes on, maybe takes on with the back pocket?
Well, look, I'm hoping that we can create a contract with a great coach at LSU that can be the template. Maybe that's what needs to break in order for somebody to come over here and say, listen, we're going to start building contracts based on performance-based. I have no problem compensating these coaches, even at the level that we're talking about, as long as we're winning. The problem with the NCAA and Congress, look, I've been in Congress. Look, politicians love to kick the can down the road. It makes me a little different. I don't like it. I like to step on the can. I like to solve the problem. But maybe the NCAA and Congress should hold a meeting and say, okay, who's in charge here? But the NCAA could absolutely There's no reason that they cannot step in and create the guardrails. They got great lawyers. They pay them a lot of money. Okay? Look through the federal guidelines. Look at what the Supreme Court says and come up with some guardrails. Okay. Huh? Somebody just has to step up.
Yeah, somebody has to step on a can, instead of cans kind of going back and forth here. And if we know anything about both parties, just as somebody that's not been involved in D.C. or in the NCAA, outside looking in, not a lot of hope in either of you kind of getting it done, but hopefully that could be different. Hopefully that could be different, Governor Jeff Landry. We can hope that's the case. Last question here. You just talked about you're not worried about paying a guy or a woman or a coach, whoever you hire, an amount of money if they're winning. I would like to let you know, and you probably know this, the guy that did the Texas A&M deal, that agent over there, he reps a lot of coaches. He's got a lot of coaches. I think a couple of the coaches that you probably want down there in Baton Rouge are going to be in there. When you say setting the template, what do you mean by that? Legitimately, what do you mean by that?
Well, legitimately, I think that everyone is in agreement here in the state of Louisiana that the next coach that we hire is going to have a patently different contract. If that agent can't see what's coming down the pipe in a way that, look, these big name coaches, they're big names because they win. What are they afraid of? Right? If you're the best, you shouldn't have to worry. You say, guess what? I'm putting my reputation on the line. And when I win, this is how much money I want. There's no guarantee. This sets it. The way the contracts are structured now tells a guy, listen, in 5 years, he might get tired of doing it. He's like, he doesn't have to worry about coaching because he's like, look, as long as I kind of go through the motions, I get another 5 years at $10 million a year. That's not a bad gig, Pat. If y'all boys over there are giving great entertainment to ESPN and we don't enjoy watching y'all, which we absolutely do, guess what happens? You lose sponsors. That's the free market.
All right, I appreciate where your head's at. Yep. I think you're up against it, though, Governor. I just want to let you know, I think you're up against it. I appreciate the fact that you're in a position, though, to potentially drive some change in all these things to make our sports world even better. But I think it's a freight train that's already kind of been run away, Governor.
Well, I know, but Pat, listen, every one of you all, okay? All of the sports commentators, everyone who's in sports, and even former coaches have been consistently saying this.
And current coaches.
And like if it's
current coaches too.
Yeah.
Governor. Yes. Everybody's saying somebody's got to do it though, Governor. Yeah. Somebody needs to kick. Hey, somebody step on a can, Governor. That's what.
Step on the can.
You're the man.
We're stepping on the can.
Hey, we appreciate you joining us and explaining yourself a little bit more. It's crazy that the taxpayers, the state, are on the hook for that contract if somebody doesn't pay it. I wonder how normal that is. That's insane to hear, actually. And I can see why the governor would be like, "Whoa, this guy." He's got ruins a Saturday in Baton Rouge. We lose to Texas A&M by 50. This guy ruins everybody's life. And then we got to up taxes to pay. Who did the contract? Yeah, that is a hilarious turn of events. We appreciate you looking into it. Hopefully you can drive some change to make sure this sport that you're saying could potentially be getting ruined. Ratings are only up and to the right, Governor. Things are only getting better. Just the back end needs cleaned up. Good luck out there in your fight on that and everything else. And also gator hunt. Good luck out there with the gator hunt.
Listen, come hunt with us, Pat. Thank you so much. We love watching y'all guys.
You're the man, ladies and gentlemen. Governor Jeff Landry.
Yeah, Governor!
That guy's a character.
Certainly.
That guy is an absolute character.
Yeah.
He is just himself.
Like what he's saying, though.
As you see him is how he is in every room that I've seen him in. Gumpy's seen him in a couple different rooms. We go down to LSU, obviously. And I say this again. Anytime you can go somewhere with Coach Saban, when he's maybe won a national championship there or 6 of them.
Sure. Okay,
any of those types of things. And you can just kind of happen to just kind of sidecar that thing, you should do that. And we got to do that at LSU. I met some of these people that are potentially going to have to step up so taxpayers don't have to pay $53 million or whatever the case is, because Coach Saban, obviously old friends with a lot of the people there. That's where before he goes to Alabama or before he goes to Miami, he's at LSU, wins a national championship there. And then the way they talk about Governor Jeff Landry, because that was in the middle of having a live tiger on the sideline. Mm-hmm. So that was a big conversation. Governor Jeff Landry was governor, then he was out, and then Governor Jeff Landry back in, and then Governor Jeff Landry said, my childhood, some of my best moments with my family when that what's the tiger's name?
Mike. Is it Mike?
Mike,
yeah.
Mike the tiger will roar. Oh, every place will go crazy. I want a tiger back on the sideline. And they're like, well, we can't do that. Obviously, we got Mike outside the stadium in his own sanctuary, but inside the stadium, they said because of the loud and everything, they don't like, we want a tiger, though, don't we? let's get a Tiger. And that was happening the week game day was going down there. So I literally just learned of this man's existence, and also a governor just being like, I don't care. I want a live tiger out there. And then inevitably, live tiger was out there.
Oh, there.
Now, there was full conversation about how many potential tigers there were, because there was protests happening that could have potentially stopped tigers from getting to sidelines. So I think there was potentially a situation happening. But Governor Jeff Landry, the people that I talked to in Louisiana, and I don't think it matters what the rest of the country thinks or anybody, the people that I talked to, they were talking about Jeff Landry like, hey, Jeff's his own guy, but Jeff gets shit done. Like that is literally what Jeff does. And I think he takes a lot of pride in the state of Louisiana. You can hear the way he talks, to hear the way he acts every single time he talks like that. And are we, as the rest of the world, going to agree with everything that the governor of Louisiana has to say or how he operates? I would doubt it. Louisiana is its own country. Okay, that is, they're not the only state that's their own country, but Louisiana is. I mean, we purchased it. I don't even have to go back to the entirety of it all, but Louisiana is a special place. It is a dynamic place. It is a unique place. And it's like, I appreciate the fact that his big thing was like, we got to pay for this guy? As what, he taking his Mercedes back? I don't think so. That ain't gonna happen.
No consequences for the guy that hired him.
Yeah.
Or Jimbo.
Yeah, exactly. Well, so we know the guy that represented Jimbo out there in Texas A&M.
Yeah.
And we know that he doesn't represent Brian Kelly.
No.
And so whenever he was, look it up.
Yeah.
If I'm mistaken, this guy everywhere. And now this guy is everywhere when they talk about Jimmy Sexton and the representing a coach's business and, hey, who's going where and everything like that. But he just, there was a moment of clarity in there that had to be made, like, hey, Jimmy ain't. Now this guy, though, he also has got Nussmeier, I think, allegedly. The Trace Armstrong. Yeah, so you're talking about.
And that's what he.
And the governor's reading through these contracts. Who negotiated? This guy got AD, coach, and quarterback. Oh, we're getting ahead.
But also to
That is what
his
he
point
thought.
where he said, like, he's not making the hire. He's responsible for the two biggest buyouts ever in college football history. The AD is.
Yes, Woodward.
Yeah.
Crazy stuff. All right, well, I'm excited to hear what people say he was wrong about in that conversation we just had with him.